We're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. And we're never, ever, ever, ever gonna leave each other.
Oh, Strange. What have you done?
Welcome to the Film Board, the movie conversation podcast reviewing the latest releases you've seen and want to talk about. I am your cloak-wearing musical host, Ocean. And on this episode, I am joined by the other two of the three best friends you just heard about. And we're going to talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Someone once told me that the reality I thought I knew was just one of many.
Be careful which path you travel down. Stronger than you have lost their way.
You think there will be no consequences?
We're in the end game now.
I sacrificed everything. And it meant nothing.
Oh, Strange. What have you done?
Today, I am chatting with one of the other best friends, Krissy Lenz.
Hi, Ocean. I'm excited to talk about all of the multiverses.
Yes, I think there's after this movie there's two, so we're good. Shouldn't be two, maybe three, maybe three.
One of them is full of madness.
One of them is full of madness. Yes, we are also going to dive into the madness with Tommy Metz III.
That's me, and I'm only here to talk about madness. So you guys can talk about the multiverse all you want. I'm madness from noon till night. Noon till night, I get up late. Okay,
exactly. That is why we brought you in to talk about those things. Okay, so let's. I just want to start where I always like to start with these, which is setting the bar for each of us as far as where we were with the movie. So without diving into the movie, Krissy, can you start by just telling us what you already knew about Doctor Strange and what were your expectations you had going into the movie?
I have seen all of the Marvel movies, and I have seen at least almost all the Marvel TV shows.
Wow, that's dedication.
It's a lot, but the rest of my family is far more dedicated than me. So they're often watching it, and I'm like, yeah, just catch me up on what's going on with Bucky and the other guy. Like, sure. Whatever they're up to is fine. But I watched everything I'm pretty sure that you were supposed to have seen in order to know going in what you needed to know about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Your WandaVisions, your what ifs, the previous everythings. And I'm a big fan. I like all of that content. I like Doctor Strange. So for me, the bar was set high, especially after Spider-Man No Way Home, which I loved.
Mm-hmm. I saw some things. Boy, am I glad I saw WandaVision. Yikes on bikes. This would have been a rough stuff if I had not seen WandaVision. But I don't own Disney Plus, so I just dip in and out of things when people tell me that I should watch. I haven't watched a lot of the Marvels, but I did watch the first Doctor Strange and really liked it the most out of a lot of them. And I have no idea why, because it is the epitome of fake things, shooting fake things and doing fake stuff. But it's I like how they play with the reality of it. And I saw some of that in the trailer for this. So I was excited. I was coming for that part. And then I also was assuming I would be fairly confused most of the time and looked forward to being in a very empty, but still there was 6 other people in the theater when I saw it, laughing and cheering at things that I did not understand, including numbers. Like you mentioned before, at one point they were 616, and the guy goes, yes! And I was like, numbers? Now we're excited about numbers? Because I have no idea what that means. But, okay.
So you were not aware that there was going to be math involved?
No, I was not.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there definitely is. All right. So for me, while I I know a bit about Doctor Strange from the comics, but most of my knowledge from Doctor Strange is the movies. And I went into this I went into it, first saw the trailer, knew I was going to watch it immediately. I was excited for it, saying, hey, this should be a pretty good movie, because the MCU has really raised the bar to the point of where I now expect the movie to be good, not I'm hoping for the movie to be good. And then I think I had an epiphany, maybe about 10 minutes before going in, that I was curious about. So the Doctor Strange movie, while I liked it, it is not my favorite of the MCU, right? But I love Doctor Strange in everything else. And so I started wondering, will I enjoy this movie as much as I do other MCU movies? Will it be the same as Doctor Strange? Or is Doctor Strange for me like The Incredible Hulk, where The Incredible Hulk is great in everything except his own movies? And so that was kind of my question going in. And then I expected to be entertained and see a good movie. So I'm just going to do a quick kind of an overview of the story of where we start out. So basically, and I'll just say this simply, Doctor Strange had a dream. So he basically, the synopsis, Doctor Strange had a dream. We start with there's a different Doctor Strange in the middle between two multiverses in like a little, who knows what it is? You don't really know what it is at the beginning, but it's the pathway between different multiverses. And so you see a scene there where Doctor Strange gets in a fight. We're going to skip over that for now and talk about it more in detail later. And then he has a dream. He woke up, and then he goes to Christine's wedding, because Christine is getting married. They do touch on again, of course, that he's been dead for 5 years. And in the middle of the wedding, a monster is attacking America Chavez, who is a new character being introduced in this movie. And Doctor Strange goes to rescue her. And so after that, turns out that they decide that monster was from witchcraft, not sorcery. So Doctor Strange goes and visits Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, to ask for her help. Turns out she's the bad guy. She's the witch that is trying to kidnap America and absorb her powers. And now Doctor Strange must stop this person that he has never met in cinema before now.
Oh, they've never met?
They've never met.
Interesting.
So they, at least not on camera. There's only two places. There's only two places in the MCU where they've been in the same place at the same time, and they never interact with each other. So we will discuss all of that in just a minute. Do you love to have conversations about movies? Do you want to talk to people that loved that great movie just as much as you did? Maybe talk to someone who hated that movie just as much as you did, or someone who disagrees with your opinion entirely. If this sounds interesting to you, please join our online community of movie and TV lovers on the True Story FM Discord server. You can join for free at thenextreel.com/Discord. If you like what we're doing here with the True Story family of podcasts, why not become a supporting member? Visit thenextreel.com/membership to learn about the benefits like members-only Discord channels, show live streams, bonus episodes, and stickers. We start at the beginning with the alternate universe Doctor Strange, and he is in between the different multiverses fighting a monster that we at this point don't know what it is. And he is trying to save a girl that we don't know who it is. Turns out that she's America Chavez, and I'm just going to refer to her as America for ease later as we move forward. And in the midst of that, Doctor Strange decides that they can't win, so he's going to take her powers, and she, which is a new power for me that I was unaware that he had the ability to do, which was to absorb another person's powers, and which would kill her, but save the universe from whatever, which we don't know at the time. And then it turns out he gets killed, and then they fall through a multiverse portal that America opens and fall into what is our Earth, as we learn, Earth 616. I believe I believe I have the right number there, Earth 616, which is our Earth, which I'd been calling Earth 1 all this time, like a noob. So then, fast forward past that. So I'm just going to hit the highlights. Christine is getting married to some dude. Our universe, Doctor Strange is going to fight a monster to save America, and then goes to recruit Wanda to help. And then Wanda is the bad guy who sent the monsters to kidnap America, and so she can reunite with her kids. So, Krissy, what do you think of this setup? Do you like Wanda going full bad guy? And does her motivation work for you?
Ooh, that was the big question of this movie for me. And especially in the first half, it did not. We very recently talked about those types of movies where you're rooting for who is meant to be the bad guy.
I don't know that we've talked about that yet. That's part of the multiverse of madness.
I am now mad at the multiverse.
Yes, we may or may not have talked about that yet. Yes.
We may talk about that. And if we do, this will then tie into it nicely. But yeah, I was on her side. For all of WandaVision, I was on her side, and like she is dealing with all of this like really, really big grief, not only for her children, but also for the love that she lost. And to me, I was really tripped up by her being as aggressive as she was from the very beginning, because I had all these like other solutions that popped into my head. Well, why doesn't she do this? Why don't they suggest that? They've got multiverses of options and all of these possible ideas. Why isn't anyone offering to help this woman instead of just be like, okay, well, now we're fighting. And it's very serious, and it gets very serious very quickly. And, she's killed a lot of people, and she's fully like poisoned by the Darkhold. Okay. But I was still like crying for her. Like, she just wants to be with her children.
Did she communicate that to anybody?
She talked about it with Doctor Strange. He seemed to know about Westview because he did say, like, I'm not mad about Westview. He mentioned it.
Yes.
So he knew about it. And I get that not all the Avengers can be in all the movies and all the TV shows because, like, we got to keep them, we got to pay those bills or whatever.
Exactly.
But
it'll be expensive.
Like, the fact that there were no Avengers, like, willing to be like, hey, should we help Wanda out after all of the trauma that she went through? Thor's more fun. Let's deal with his issues. Let's... And so, like, yeah, no, to me, it felt a little bit on the side of misogyny, that it was like,
crazy woman syndrome.
And it's like, no, she lost her children. Like, she's been through all of this loss, and maybe we could help. I was just like, thought of so many ways they could have helped her and diffused it. When she gets cartoony, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, when she was like full cartoon villain,
right?
I felt more okay about it because I felt less like this was the character that I had spent a whole series like crying for.
Did you, as a sidebar, and I'm not trying to ask a leading question because I'm not sure how I feel about it or if I should even have an opinion, but do you find anything a little reductive about having a character who's the most powerful witch in the universe and all she wants to do is be a mom? Like, that is her core thing. My boys. She says my boys 1,900 times. That sticks a little bit for me. I'm not saying that families aren't important and stuff, but it's also like, that is such a traditional mother role. And to give her so much power and then have her throw everything away just so she can have kids that she made up in the first place. It just feels a little interesting.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it, Tommy. That's exactly how I felt. Reductive is perfection. That she was just like, had literally, what, why? Nobody is trying to like help this woman. Like, and by the way, she can kill all of you. So maybe we should be trying to put a couple of more eggs into the let's figure this out basket.
Yeah. They did make her very powerful in this movie, which I was a little bit surprised by. She's always been very powerful, but in this movie, they ramped it up where she's just on a wholly other level. of power from what they've even shown in the past. And I guess, though, to me, part of that with their motivation was also she just made the kids up. So there is also part of it where it's like, why couldn't she just make them up again?
As one possible solution that you just came up with, Ocean, maybe she can make them up again in like a better setting. But doesn't that mean that they were real? Like she says, I dreamed them. That means they are real. And they were real in all these other multiverses. Are those made up kids in all those multiverses too?
No, maybe not. Maybe yeah, that is a great point. So yeah, so maybe she really did have kids in these other multiverses, and the ones in our universe were made up, but she made up kids that did exist in other multiverses, universes. Sorry.
Like I do want to come back to this when or if we end up talking about the end, like the end moment where she.
We're not talking about the end.
We're never going to talk about the end.
We're not going to spoil the movie. We're just going to talk about the first 5 minutes, and then we're good.
Yeah, I gotta go pretty soon.
I'll put all that away then.
Exactly. Yeah.
The way that happens is like, okay, somebody could have done that way back in the beginning. Like, and I thought that was a theme they were trying to express, which is like the question that they keep asking is, are you happy? And, you know, Stephen Strange is not happy, and they're implying it's because he lost his Christine. And Wanda is obviously not happy because she's lost her family. But the point of your kids is for them to grow and leave you and have a life of their own one day, you know, and a mom knows that. And the point of having a partner isn't for them to make you happy, right? They have to exist on their own and be their own person. So like, it seemed like they were really pointing a finger at like, are you happy? And guess what? If you're not, it's not because you're missing these other people. It's because of something that you're missing yourself.
Wow, you're giving this
like
movie a lot. Yeah, that's a lot to put on this movie. I was you've given me something now to think about more as far as their motivations of things. So back up a half a step and talk about. So I wanted to get your both your guys' opinions about. What you felt about Wanda going full bad, but then to back up a step and maybe just talk about a part of the movie where you have the big fight scene during the wedding. And in that, there is, we have real things fighting fake things. And there is the one-eyed monster, which the name of that monster is actually Shuma Gorath. They call it something else in this movie. But yeah, Shuma Gorath, okay. It's a monster from the Doctor Strange comic book canon. And he's much more powerful than what they displayed in this. But I guess then, since this was the first fight scene and also setting the tone, I think visually about what we were going to see, just as much as with the fight scene at the beginning with America in between multiverses. So, Tommy, what did you think about that setup? Like, do you feel that this set the correct tone and seemed to write, visually and it actually looked good, or were you like, oh, I'm gonna be watching fake things fight fake things?
I did like it surprisingly more than I thought I would because of the level of invention. It's not just shooting rays, and it's not just having a super fist pump. He's like creating things to cut buses in half. It made me really excited for how much imagination I was hoping would be throughout the entire movie. So I actually really liked it because they didn't the fake things fighting fake things on the top of fake things. I think why I usually complain about that is they show you everything all at once just because they can, and that's not a good thing. This, he was putting the camera in interesting places. He was sort of doing the opposite of what the traps that Peter Jackson did in the Hobbit series, in my personal opinion, where the camera was just constantly soaring over everything, and you just get really numb to it. This was always sort of grounded, which is weird because there's a huge eye monster, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool thing, and I like the interplay with Wong, and I like the cape, and there was just a lot of stuff going on, which was a lot of fun.
Yes, and after all this is over, they then introduce, and we haven't discussed about America Chavez and what her power is. So America Chavez has the ability to walk through multiverses or walk through the multiverse, in which I guess you'd more accurately say she can travel from one universe to the other. At this point in time in the movie, she cannot control that power, but she apparently has the ability to do it. And she's been doing it for a while. She's been to a lot of different places. And for reasons that I could never fully explain, she also seems to have the ability for her powers to be absorbed. And I don't think I've seen that in anything else. Like, not only could Doctor Strange, at least the bad Doctor Strange, and then later on Wanda exhibit the ability to begin the absorption of her powers that would kill her, but the fact that could even happen, because most superheroes with their powers, you can't absorb their powers.
They're not going around stealing powers. You're right.
Right. You can kill them, but you can't do that. And so that to me was an interesting twist on this. At least I guess I look at it somewhat as a twist on this movie, in that they've introduced a thing now where you want to know, is it going to be specific to this character, America, or is this now something that they want to introduce in the MCU broadly, that some superheroes can do this to other superheroes?
Like Zachary Quinto in that TV show that I don't remember.
Yes, that's Heroes.
Heroes.
Yes, the Heroes,
yep.
which, man, that had a great first season and then made bad decisions after that.
Yep.
So after they defeat Shumagorath, who again is much more powerful than what you saw there, and is actually has somewhat of an interesting story, they basically take America and they hide her off into a monastery called something, some monastery somewhere.
Have we seen that place before?
Not that specific one.
No?
No?
Okay.
No.
That's not the one?
Think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think it's a different one. Because usually they're in the like
a mansion,
the big mansion, and then they open portals to other places that look like monasteries. But those portals, for reasons I've never really understood, but I just gonna go with, it always seems to be the portals going into somewhere filled with snow.
Isn't that where he trained though, when Doctor Strange was like learning the...
No.
I thought that's where they took him, because that rooftop looked familiar where they're all like doing Tai Chi.
I would bet that Krissy's right, because they were definitely treating it like we knew where that was. Because they weren't like, welcome to this. They were like, hey, we're back in, I don't know, Elm Street or wherever the place. The amount of crazy proper nouns in this movie, I just kept laughing. I wanted to make a list of all the things I didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree, Krissy. I believe, Krissy, you are correct. That is the same place. And both Tommy and I just did not remember it.
It could also not be. Like, who knows?
No, it is.
It is now.
You said it. It's canon. It's the same place.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So getting back, the Scarlet Witch then. So after they decide who they are, they're gonna hide. They figure out who America is, what she can do. They're gonna hide. Scarlet Witch shows up, kills some random sorcerers, and then is about to win and start taking America and absorb her powers. And then Doctor Strange then, does a couple of magic spells and then America opens up a portal to a different universe. Strange jumps her through. They fall through various different multiverses. And I just
favorite part of the movie.
I'm sorry?
That was my favorite part of the movie. I wanted more of that all the time.
Okay, so then I wasn't the only one that when you saw the cartoon multiverse thought, whoa, wait, stop here for about 15 minutes and then keep going.
Yeah.
All right, like give me 15 minutes of animated Doctor Strange in America in some place, and then it's like maybe they then get sucked through another portal. But that was my thought. All right, so then they go all the way through and they get to Earth 818, where a good chunk of this movie takes place. It is on this planet, and so once there, they have the sight gag with Bruce Campbell. Because it's a Sam Raimi movie, so Bruce Campbell must be in it and must do something funny because it's Bruce Campbell. What else you can expect? And once there, they are drugged by they are drugged by Mordo, who's played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and put in a box, and then Strange is introduced to the Illuminati. And here is an area that I found interesting: the introduction of the Illuminati. So the Illuminati was Captain Carter, was it King Bakagar Boltagon, which they just called him Black Bolt from the Inhumans, Reed Richards, and finalists Captain Marvel, Maria Rambeau version, and Professor X. And it's the Patrick Stewart version of Professor X in what must be the largest yellow chair that a man needs to get himself around in. That thing was gigantic.
That chair I thought was straight up stupid looking.
So
there was nothing cool about that chair. And you could sort of see in his face. He's like, really?
Yeah, exactly. So then at this point, so when they're introducing the Illuminati, folks, I guess first off, my question is, I don't know how much either of you are into the comic books of the comic books and knew what the Illuminati, because they said when Mordo first says no, the Illuminati, you are supposed to react. Although in the theater I was in, most people didn't, because very few people know about it. So I was curious, were you guys already aware of the Illuminati, and was this because this scene more than any other, the introduction is a giant fan service scene, and so. Was this something where you were aware of and did it hit you with a fan service scene, or was it just random new characters showing up?
I can answer very quickly because my bet is that Krissy has a better answer. I didn't know any of this, and this is when I officially was like, okay, I'm just sort of going to hold on, and I'm going to like turn off the part of my brain which is like really actively trying to keep all of this in. And then I was like, hey, the guy from The Office. It was great. Okay, Krissy, go ahead. So no, I was not aware of any of these things.
I was not aware of the Illuminati as being a thing, but of course I was excited to see Professor X. I was excited to see Captain Carter, because that was a big piece of the what if puzzle. Like, what if Agent Carter got the powers instead of Steve Rogers? And that was such a good, it was like, that's what should have happened. So getting to see her and just every girl in the Marvel world wants justice for Agent Carter. So Captain Carter is wonderful. I was excited to see this version, the Rambo version of Captain Marvel.
What's that about? Why do we have another Captain Marvel?
Well, eventually they all become.
She's the best friend. So in the Captain Marvel movie, Rambo is her best friend. That was the other pilot.
I don't remember.
But it's kind of like. So the one other guy gets to be Captain America now. It's like, here's the shield of Captain America now. Like, it's in this one. Rambo
they passed it off.
Sometimes they pass it off, and sometimes it's just like, well, she got the powers instead of her.
Because of whatever this what if thing that I don't know what it is. What you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
There was a lot of leading into what if.
Oof,
if you saw the what ifs, there was a lot of what ifs.
Okay.
So that was referenced here, but.
Mm-hmm. And the what ifs are great, and I enjoyed them. And then it was just, it's always fun to see John Krasinski anywhere. Although I think, to my mind, I have yet to see a Fantastic Four that doesn't make me think all their powers are stupid. Yeah, but I'm willing to give them a chance.
Fireboy's cool. I like Fireman.
Firestorm. Yes, he's good.
What's his name? Human Torch.
The Human Torch. Yes,
I like him.
Yeah. Why did I call him Firestorm? Oh, that's a different superhero. Sorry. Yes, the Human Torch. Okay. So, I'm going to defend the Fantastic Four a bit. I actually do think their powers are good. And the first Fantastic Four movie, look, it's not cinematic genius, but it was good for at the time. So the one thing though that I experienced and had was that it was an interesting kind of thing to me that they got Patrick Stewart to come back and do the Professor X. I would have been equally as fine had they done the James McAvoy version. And honestly, partly for, which I would argue are silly reasons on my part, Logan gave that Professor X such an amazing send-off to die, right? To bring him back after that for this basically silly cameo, that last 5 minutes, right, is kind of like, well, you've now... I could see from fandom being like, well, now you've kind of tarnished this great and amazing send-off you gave for this actor playing this character. Like I have no problem bringing the character back, but I part of me wanted that to be the McAvoy version, because then you can just, because he gets killed 5 minutes later. So I'm like, yeah, go ahead and just kill off McAvoy and bring him back later if it works out, fine. Or just bring in random bald dude X and say that he's Professor Xavier. Like, we're going to really be like, oh, no, we won't accept that new actor playing this part.
This thought leads into the thing that I had suggested that I wanted to briefly talk about, which is the fact that I'm sort of excited at times by this multiverse, anything can happen kind of thing. But then the fact that the whole Illuminati died within 5 minutes, the other problem with that is nothing matters.
Nothing matters.
And there's no real stakes. If we're all just flying in from different things and we have infinite amount, or 818, I don't know, versions of Spaghetti Man and Invisible Girl and stuff, we're going to start losing them left and right, and no one really cares. It's almost like it's a Pandora's box problem. I mean, once you can do everything, nothing really matters, is my thesis. And I started to feel that at times in this movie, especially in this scene when they all just died.
Yeah.
Like, is he going to come back? Is John Krasinski in the MCU?
It hasn't been officially said whether he is or not. I mean, they are going to make a new Fantastic Four movie for sure, but whether or not it'll star him or not has not really been announced.
Well, if they do and he's there, how am I supposed to feel about that? I just saw him become spaghetti. I guess I think it's really hurting my version of stakes. And stakes are important to me. And stakes are very important to me in superhero films because there's almost never any. And so I'm holding on to the stakes, or the stakes are ridiculous, like they're ridiculously huge. So that I didn't have, and I didn't know who Boltman Forkhead was. Like, I was also not enjoying as much of that as I could, because I'm not smart. But yeah, that's just a problem for me, potentially moving forward. I really loved how they did it. What they did in Spider-Man No Way Home, that was a cool way to use that power of, look, we can do all this stuff. This was an example of it not working for me.
I went a little bit glass half full with that. While I agree with everything you just said, my thought was, well, maybe then it opens the door for, which I imagine this would be a television show, not a movie, but some way where they could revisit that planet to then explore the stakes of what happens with this. Because effectively their version of the Avengers, or at least even more powerful than the Avengers, were all killed in about 5 minutes. So that's going to drastically alter this planet.
And we're supposed to believe that they all beat Thanos, like easy peasy lemon squeezy, bippity boppity boop. We got rid of Thanos and we did a great job. Okay.
Well, but the way they explained, yeah, exactly. Well, the way they explained of how they beat Thanos really kind of ties back to a throwaway line at the wedding. When at the wedding, when Doctor Strange meets, and I'm blanking on the character's name now, when he sits down and talks to the guy, and he says about, give him the time zone. I've been dead for 5 years.
Oh, yeah,
give him the time zone, right? That he was like, well, and you're sure that was the only way to do this? And he said, yes, this was the only way to do this. And then cut to, they jump to Earth 818, and it's like, no, there were other ways to do this. And that Doctor Strange, while it was, he got a hold of their dark hold and did some, dastardly things with other multiverses, he figured out another way to kill Thanos. Because
that planet didn't have a blip?
Didn't have a blip.
But he killed 2 universes full of people. So the same amount of people died, but in that version, they didn't get to come back.
Whoa, incursion.
So... Didn't our Doctor Strange actually save those people in the long run, whereas their Doctor Strange actually killed a bunch of people?
Interesting.
Yes, very interesting. So then I guess, but at this, yes, everything you're saying is correct, but I do think at the same time, it does bring up there was another way to kill Thanos. You didn't have to let everybody die for 5 years and come back.
Because the question wasn't. Well, the question wasn't. It was the best way. It was the only way.
Right. Because he was saying the only way to do it was what they did. That there was no other way.
And that's Wanda's whole beef. Is like, so you're saying that the only way was for me to destroy Vision, but maybe there were these other ways. But there's all these other multiverses. And now that we know that there's all these other multiverses, like Tommy was saying, everything is nothing and nothing is everything. Isn't there a version of life somewhere where Wanda died and the kids need a mom?
Right.
Yes, there is. And the other thing that honestly, when you just said that, brought up, I thought of this as well. Wanda's accusation at that point about was this the only way and all this stuff, I think is also an accusation to Doctor Strange. Because I had to blow out the head of the man, machine, whatever, whatever you consider Vision to be, that I love, and it meant nothing, right? Was Doctor Strange's fault, because if Thanos did not have the time stone, he could not have undone that.
And she was doing the same thing that other Doctor Strange was trying to do to America, right? Where she was like, I have to kill you to take your power to keep it out of the hands of this more evil person. It's the same thing that other Doctor Strange was trying to do to, right? So it's like we keep finding these cycles of...
You find the cycles. And Wanda is other evil person at this point. So, because she's sending the monsters. So,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, one thing I will give definitely this part of the movie as this part of the conversation has demonstrated, there's a lot of layers of what they're doing with this what if in the multiverse. And is that good or bad? right? Like, so I guess then, I'll just kind of push that back to you, Tommy. Is that good or bad? Because you have now a whole lot of, in the past, you've always had, with any superhero stuff, you can say, well, what if they had done this or what if they had done that? And you kind of play with it and say, maybe I think, maybe I think this character should, maybe Quicksilver should have lived and, made it past and not been shot up by Ultron's plane or whatever, right? Just any little thing here and there. And you can say that. But here, because you have so many different multiverses and so many different possibilities, it then creates this whole this rabbit hole of different accusations and different layers of things.
I found even that question to be confounding because it's just so hard. It's a great question, but I mean, I don't know. It depends, I guess, on how they use it. As I sort of explained, I liked what they did in Spider-Man. I don't like this. I like the idea of another big civil war at some point, like people on one side and people on the other, because I love the airport fight scene. That's like my favorite thing in all of these dumb movies. Sorry, good movies.
They are all cinematic masterpieces. Just
they're all cinematic. Exactly.
Just different levels of masterpiece.
So I'm not sure. I guess it remains to be seen. I mean, I do know that when he jumped into another portal with Charlize Theron in a purple outfit, I felt exhaustion because I was like, what? It's never, ever going to stop. And then I got sad.
Yeah, that was the post-credit sequence was disappointing for me, but we can discuss that more. Later. Yeah, we'll discuss that more later when we get to the end. All right, so let me get back to the timeline of the movie. So Scarlet Witch now is we've met the Illuminati. Yay! All the fan service has been done.
Ocean, let me interrupt just real quick. I have a better, more clearer answer to your question. It's tough for me because adding complexity and weird backstories is not going to help me enjoy these movies more. So potentially that may be my link to madness, is if they keep having all of these now different and culturally changing in this universe and thing, it might be the end for me. Sorry, go ahead.
So so the Scarlet Witch now is going to do dream walking. And so apparently dream walking is where you can possess yourself in a different universe as long as you have the Darkhold. And so you have that, and so she's starting to do it, and she's figuring it out. Then the Darkhold is destroyed, where she then can't. And in a plot point that I'm going to skip a little bit past, forces Wong to take her to the source of the book, which why Wong does that doesn't make sense to me, because he understands the stakes, and she's killing 4 sorcerers, and he's like, no, these 4 sorcerers are more important than the entire multiverse.
The 150 you already killed.
Right. Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, that's when she goes full weirdo and is like Cruciatus cursing them. But I was so confused. They did not sell me at all on the idea of dream walking being the darkest magic you could use. And if she can dream walk, why not dream walk into all of the moms that get to be moms to the kids at only the best moments? Like, I dream walk in on Christmas morning. Other Wanda gets to take them to school and force them to eat their vegetables. I pop in at the good parts. Like, if she already has that power, why? And I was just supposed to believe that. Well, we said it's the worst thing you can do, so therefore it's the worst thing you can do. And I was like,
right,
not sold on that. But I did love the idea that there's the source of the Darkhold, and it just got transcribed, and that's what the book Darkhold was. So the real villains of this piece are note takers.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. Also, I think they do a good job of selling that point, though. I'm sorry. Let me back up and see what I mean by that point, because you made a few. The point of why dreamwalking is bad, because it is the way Doctor Strange from 818 or 818 caused all of the incursions, was doing that.
But how? But why?
Because it seemed to be, and this is what I gathered from it, so you can let me know if you got something else out of it. It seemed to be that if 2 multiverses or 2 different universes began to really fully know about each other, that's what triggers an incursion. And so by dreamwalking, you creating situations where these two universes will then begin to know about each other.
Oh.
Okay,
Right.
look, I don't understand string theory either. So if I have to understand like all of this, then you're like losing me, because her job, that Christine's job, was to know about the multiverses. So why isn't her knowing about the multiverses causing an incursion in 818?
Because she's a single person. You need to have, apparently there's a tipping point
She
at
had
a
a
large...
staff.
Yes. Well, apparently there needs to be a large enough group. At least there was a throwaway line that they mentioned about how because his dreamwalking caused the incursions. They talk about incursions where when they know about each other, they can occasionally collide. And so that's what I took away from it. Now, look, I could be completely wrong, but that is what I took away from the movie, was that there was something about if they became on a grander scale or a grander population base aware of each other, it created an incursion. Now, like I said, this could be completely wrong. I don't know. I do know the one thing I will hang my hat on is they did say that Doctor Strange's dreamwalking caused the incursions.
Okay.
They did say that, but I never understood how.
Right. They did not fully explain how. And
it felt like
what I just told you was what I thought what I thought would happen.
Because it seems like she would be messing with the multiverses less if she dreamwalked occasionally into a mom of her kids, rather than go into that multiverse and become the mom of those kids, right? I mean, that was just, I was very confused by that.
Yeah, but I think you're looking for a compromised position where there is.
I am. I want her to win. I wanted her to.
In Wanda's mind, there is no compromised position. I need my children. I'm going to be the parent of them. And what you're describing is a somewhat rational in the middle. And I don't think she was in the right headspace for that.
Maybe someone could have at some point been like, "Whoa, let's talk options."
Yep.
All right, so now that we've realized that the real villains are the note takers, when Wong takes her back to the castle, which she discovers is not a tomb but a throne, and here's where the movie introduced for me the first real jump scare. Right, when they're in the tomb and they're looking at the 4 different corners, and then all of a sudden that monster jumps up, I actually jumped.
I did too,
because I was very much not expecting that, because I was watching an MCU movie, not a Scream movie. Or, Saw someone, really Scream, because I mean that's just the classic
Sam Raimi movie, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I didn't realize he was sprinkling some Evil Dead. So Tommy, for an MCU movie, how do you think the horror elements sprinkled throughout this work? Because that was really just the first of multiple areas of where there were jump scares, where they earned their PG-13. And so how do you think because it's MCU based, but like how do you feel that these horror elements worked in the movie?
I liked them until I didn't. And I can go ahead and put this out there. There was a part of the movie that beginning with it and everything after, I lost patience and I thought was weird and dumb. And I kept having to stifle laughter, and it's the music fight. And I guess I'm skipping ahead. So the horror, because there was a lot of horror parts of and then they just started kind of like this plot contrivance thing of skinwalking or whatever it's called is really, that's what destroys the universe. They just start saying things. I need you to protect me from what? From the souls of the damned. Why? Because it's the worst thing. And you're just there was so much weird for a movie that took place walking and talking for 20 minutes. They just started throwing crazy amounts of weird exposition that has no basis in anything. And a lot of that had to do, unfortunately, with the horror elements for me.
Okay.
So that took it away. And I know it's very Sam Raimi, but I think zombie Doctor Strange, I couldn't stop laughing at personally. I just couldn't. I find no nostalgia for that old kind of prosthetics. And I thought it was just deeply silly, especially because you could see his eyes through the mask and it looked just like completely him. I don't know. Starting at the music fight and everything after, I was Donzo, which I feel bad about.
Okay.
That didn't really answer your question, but I just wanted to say that.
I think it did. I mean, because it sounds like to me, really what you're saying then is that they did lean in, especially for MCU, lean into the horror elements, and that you're saying that for you, because I look to you as my horror shaman, and so then for you, then it didn't work, right? That it created more of a distraction than more of an addition to the movie.
I think so, because he was clearly directing with one hand tied behind his back. I mean, he wasn't, and the one deeply Sam Raimi thing that he was able to do was the zombie thing, and that didn't work for me, because I thought, and I love practical things, but I just thought it looked silly. And so, yes, hopefully that answers your questions. I feel like I'm just sort of putting words together.
Yeah, no, you're not. It absolutely does. And so then, so Krissy, were the horror elements a good thing for you, bad thing for you? Were you as surprised as I was that they even existed?
I was from the first moment when the first Doctor Strange gets killed and the goriness of what you see and how you see it. Right. I was like, oh, okay. The Sam Raimi-ness of it all is going to be on display. Right. And I was excited about it and looking forward to it. And even when like the music started fighted, I was like, okay, this is silly. This is funny. I associate that with Sam Raimi as well.
Sure.
That's and it was like, point. Okay, here's Danny Elfman doing the soundtrack. I get it. But I was also just like, all right, guys.
I really appreciated the bravery in trying something so deeply weird, but it was a misfire for me. I wanted it to be over.
And I agreed with the zombie Strange, the impediment to the way he was able to move his mouth when he has like this beautiful moving moment where he realizes, killing America isn't the way, and
it's robbed.
You couldn't be in it, because I was like, and my daughter sitting next to me, she was just like, that looks pretty stupid, right? And I was like, no, it does, honey. It does look pretty stupid.
Yes.
Well, I actually then I will take the contrarian opinion on both counts.
Here you go.
I will admit that I saw this movie with my wife, and she also did not like what she called the Fantasia fighting scene, because she thought I started thinking about Fantasia the whole time. I actually enjoyed the music fight.
Oh, fun!
Yeah. I thought it was fun. I thought it was very different. There's aspects of the magic stuff, like the whole, I'm going to wave my hand and the thing is going to appear. I'm waving my hand in a circle, a thing appears and it does stuff and all that. I from time to time do have issues with that. But in this instance, I think the addition of the music part of it for me, I did enjoy it. I mean, to me, it was fighting with musical notes is just as I don't know, unbelievable as fighting with just random symbols that you can't recognize. Because really, to me, the only difference between the symbols that they make when they spin their hand and they make these different symbols and throw these things at each other, and the symbols that appeared on the one-eyed monster, whose name I'm now blanking on for some reason, which doesn't make any sense. Exactly. Thank you. And so. But that, and all those symbols are things we just don't recognize. And in this case, they're doing the same thing, but with symbols we know what they are, because I know what a quarter note is. I've seen that before. I know what a half note is, and so there's that. And then the musical element. So for me, that sequence a bit did work. So cool. I'll give that. But I was very against the whole, well, America, the power has always been inside of you and you can do it trope, right? It's like, so all of this happened and all she needed was someone to tell her, no, believe in yourself and you can control things.
That's all anyone needed was one moment of it's like, communication. Still, that for me was kind of like, I wasn't a big fan of that one. Okay, so
past host Darnell Smith used to call that the Lost effect. That the TV show Lost was on for like 7 seasons, and he's like, if they all just met around one campfire and all talked for 15 minutes, the show would be half an hour long. They were just constantly not talking and keeping each other apart. There was a lot of that in this too. Yeah.
Okay. Before we leave 818, which I think we're already halfway gone from it, I was wondering, Krissy, do you think so? We jumped over the scene where A18 has Ultrons, by the way, Ultron guards, which I thought was an interesting touch. And then Wanda shows up when after she gets to the castle and you have the jump scares, she uses, I guess, the stones, like she can read the walls to then get back to dreamwalking. And do you feel that she ran through the Illuminati a little too easily? Right?
Yes.
And does this Captain Marvel disappoint with her fighting abilities? Because I mean, some of the other ones okay, but she ran through Captain Marvel in time for, like if you'd have left to get a snack, by the time you got back, Captain Marvel was dead, right? So what did you think about how easy it was to do that?
I was confused by it because, and I was most shocked that, like, she runs straight through Captain Marvel. It's like, oopsie doopsie, no one thought to drop a rock on you. But also, like, she completely defeats Professor Xavier in his mental mind. Like, she defeats him in the sphere in which he's supposed to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
I was just like, no.
Or did she sneak up behind the real guy when the mind guy was in the bomb shelter? Whatever. I don't even want to know the answer to that question.
Yeah, she snapped the neck of the real guy, but
but okay. I was confused and shocked by the whole thing.
Yep.
And was so on that level, it got me out because I was just like, what?
Right.
Like, from the moment the Black Bolt guy implodes to
no mouth, that was cool.
The shredding of this guy to the having of, I was like, I spent the whole time going,
right,
just gasping and reeling. And I feel like they breezed right past the improbability of it and the horror, the true horror of it. That's like, she just killed
the Avengers,
beloved characters.
Yes.
Beloved. And then there's like, oopsie doopsie, off we go. And I've got other things to do. Bye. Like, yeah.
Well, she had the Terminator chase Strange, America, and Christine through the waters, through the tunnels. In the water.
I found that part very strange.
Yeah. I did not. I found that the first part of that is because after she runs through the Illuminati, I did not remember why she was limping. Like the implication is she got hurt somewhere along the way, but I just didn't remember it. So I was
stepped
curious
on glass.
why she was hurt. Okay, and
she
that's
was
why
barefoot,
she was
step on glass. I don't know. That's what I took it for.
All right.
So it was a diehard Terminator chase marriage.
Nice.
But I was nice. At that point, I was highly confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so and that's when they run and they escape through the tunnels, and then they escaped to the space between universes, and then they find the escape place between universes, Strange, Christine, and America, and then once there, they find what they're looking for, and Wanda destroys the Book of MacGuffin. Vishanti, and then they send Strange and Christine to the Earth where they have the music fight. Right, and there that Earth is already going through an incursion, which apparently, as they now have established, incursions take time, and that's that's I don't know if there's any real value to knowing that it takes time versus being all inside of 1 minute. But then, really, at this point, we're really kind of just into the penultimate part of the movie, where they have the music fight, which we've already discussed, and then there's the power has always been in your control speech. We're already then for you, Tommy. Then we're already then past where you're kind of getting fatigued about things. So okay, so then the power is always in you. Then speech was that rousing for you in any way, or
completely diluted by the terrible makeup, by the prosthetics? Okay. I couldn't. I was like laughing, and I don't do that. Like, I'm not a cynical movie watcher, but I was like, this isn't. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's bad for me. This is such a misfire for me on every level that I'm starting to not care about being alive. No,
fair enough. Because really, at this point, they're fighting again. There was another fight scene. There's a lot of fighting in this movie.
Yep.
I was surprised about because when it first starts out, there's quite a bit of talking here and there. But then once you get to this point, you start to realize, wait, there's a lot of fight scenes in this movie. That's really what they're doing through a good chunk of this movie. So now America's in the fight because she knows that the power is in her. She realizes she can't win, so she shows Wanda her kids, where the Scarlet Witch now learns that she is the monster her children fear. This is a bit of a hero turn for Scarlet Witch, right? She now realizes she's in the wrong and it feels remorse and sadness. And so then first off, I guess let's start breaking it in half. First part, did you feel that the impact of the scene was earned? Right? How did you feel about that scene of when she now sees the kids and when she realizes that she really is the problem and she's not on the side of right, which up to this point, like all villains, she's been the hero of her own story.
She says that line again. She starts to say that line again. I'm not a monster. I'm a mother.
Right. Yes.
And she realizes, oopsie. I did dream walk into your mom and walk her over a whole bunch of glass. Sorry, kids. And this is why the whole movie didn't work for me, I think, because all that needed to happen was for the Moana moment where this universe's Wanda gives the Scarlet Witch Wanda, gives her back the heart of Tafiti and says, they'll be loved. Like, isn't that all you care about, is that they'll be loved? And she's like, you're right. It is all I cared about. And then she turns back into the good version of herself. Like, wasn't there an easier way to get to that if any of the other Avengers had or even if Doctor Strange had wanted to show her a different possible.
She had been offered that. She'd been asked that and offered that. Doctor Strange did actually ask. I don't know if it was Doctor Strange, but she was asked.
Her. He said, what's going to happen to their mom?
Isn't it enough? Well, yeah, and also, isn't it enough to know that they are taken care of on the universe? And she says no. And then there was a thing of where, I don't remember who was asking, but because this movie has some decent exposition and try to explain all this craziness. And there was a scene where someone was asking her, why not just have America take you where they are?
Right.
Yeah.
And so she was like, well, what if they get sick? And so therefore, I think it was Wong. Wong was asking, it's Wong, why not just have her take you? And it's like, what if they get sick? Then I have a multiverse of possibilities. I have to then take them somewhere else into some other multiverse to have them get healed, right? And that's why she's, basically entered into the area of, I have a solution and no amount of logic is going to take me off of it.
Until it did. Though.
Well, but that was more of an emotional reaction. There wasn't logic. It was emotional. She realized that,
That's what I'm saying, though, is couldn't we have doesn't Doctor Strange have the ability to foresee all these different, I was just confused by the fact that there was not a lot of sympathy for her as a person who had lost something. And at that moment that you're talking about, Ocean, that's the moment when I was like, oh no, she cray. When she's like, no, I have to go into the other multiverses and I have to get prescriptions for them. I'll get a prescription for them in every multiverse. It's oh no. You really are crazy. All she needed was to have one moment of being like, hey, you're not helping them in the way that you think that you're helping them.
I guess this is an open question. I'll start with you, Tommy, as well. Am I the only one that was surprised that the Earth 838 Wanda did not kill the Earth 616 version for what she had done? Because Wanda is...
I got lost in all the numbers.
Yeah, the Wanda that was...
Good Wanda Scarlet Witch didn't kill bad Wanda?
Right, the Wanda that was dream walked into and walked through glass. When she realizes she's her kid and she's just she's laying on her knees crying, were you surprised that at that point that Wanda didn't kill the other one?
No, because I felt like we were already way down the line of she has to take her own life. She has to pay for her sins by herself, thus giving herself some sort of an honorable ending.
And then that's when she destroying herself with the building. And again, displaying an insane power of being able to destroy every copy of the Darkhold in the multiverse.
Yep, and we know that because they told us.
They told us, right.
When did she do that?
Yes, but that means wait, she could do things in other multiverses?
Yes,
right.
Who gets to do stuff in other multiverses and how and why?
Yeah.
If she can destroy them, she could have gotten... She didn't need to go to the castle. She could have just gone... Right. She could have yoinked over to another wing and be like, I'm taking this book. The end.
I'm going to take this one.
Yeah.
And same thing for when she finally had her boys. She could have been like, oh, they need penicillin. Let me just rifle through the multiverses till I find some. This will be a sketch one day where she's like, what if they get girlfriends, and I don't like those girlfriends. Like, what if they play sports and I can't make it to both games at the same time, and I have to be at 2 different multiverses at once? Like,
the line at CVS is too long in this universe. Come on, boys.
I need to go.
Yeah, it's just like it's more and more petty. I said no pickles on my burger. Yoink.
Yeah. Then, all right. So now that we've wrapped up with this, so Strange is, Wanda's now killed herself and every single Darkhold in the multiverse, and Strange has a third eye, for reasons, and we have an ending. So at this point, and I think I already have a gauge from you, Tom, of where you're at, but like, does this ending and conclusion work for you?
I didn't get it. I didn't understand. He seemed to be all happy and in a doctor's ad, and then he started screaming in the middle of the street, and then he had a third eye, and then it ends, and then we see him later, and he's happy, and he jumps into a cloud with Charlize Theron. I didn't have any idea what any of that meant. I don't know the significance of the third eye other than like Indian, or Middle Eastern philosophy. What was happening to him? And why was he happy in the next scene? What? I was so over it by this point. I was like, whatever. Right. So, do you know why was he up? Did it hurt? Growing the eye?
Yes, it's a reference from the comics. It's the eye of, I think it's Amalgam, or I don't remember the name, but it's the same eye that the amulet he wears around his neck, how it opens and closes where he was holding the time stone before. That amulet is actually a third eye. And so in the comics, there is times where he has it in his forehead like that, but it doesn't look like an actual eye in the comics. It looks more like that amulet that's around his neck, and then it has various abilities. But that's where that's from, and that's what they're then adding on to. Now in the MCU, they're explaining it as because he used the Darkhold, it gave him that ability, kind of like how the evil Doctor Strange from the music fight had that third eye. That's where he got it.
So are they saying that maybe he's got some evil in him? Is that what all the screaming is about at the end?
Potentially, yes. Yes. So potentially there is some evil in it, but there always has been, right? There's always a, because realistically, which is I do think is interesting, every version of Doctor Strange in any other multiverse, all the what ifs, everything else, he is really more of a jerk than the version that we get. Right? He always is. He's kind of like, it always, his set of morals do raise into question, well, is he better or worse than the quote unquote bad guys? Right? Because he is constantly, he's going to do everything on his own, and he's doing things his own way. I know what's right for everybody. Do what I say, or suffer the consequences of not doing what I say.
He has to be the one holding the knife.
Or mine.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So he's not, it's one of those things where I think that you could even, of all the different rabbit hole conversations we could go down, which is he actually a hero, right? Or is he just doing villainous things to people that were okay with him doing villainous things too?
That's cool.
Yeah, yes, Ocean, you hit the nail on the head. And the only reason we're okay with him messing with Wanda is because she's gone a little crazy for a little bit.
So, yes. Yeah. And with the post-credit sequences, well, he is, invited by someone to go somewhere. That I ended up Googling who that character was, and it was not impressive for me. I think for me, the problem became... Can I jump in on one thing that you said really quick before we go away from it?
Absolutely. Which was that I thought another really nice theme, in addition to are you happy and what needs to make you happy, is are you the worst version of yourself? Should every version of yourself be judged by the template of the worst version of yourself and the worst version of yourself did? Because they want to condemn their Doctor Strange according to what this Doctor Strange had done, and this Wanda is good and is a mom, and that Wanda is bad and is Scarlet Witch.
Oh, that's cool.
Are we the worst version of ourselves, or is there a way that no matter what multiverse we're in, we can still make good choices and learn, right? Which I think was what we were supposed to be getting from that end of Wanda and that end of Steven, where he's like, no, America, you have the power. You hold the knife, right? And so then his happiness at the end, I think, was in him realizing that he's always still trying to become a different Stephen Strange, and that he's not going to get his Christine in this world, and all
Right.
those things sort of shuffling together.
Yeah, it could be because we are getting the best version of Doctor Strange because every other version of him is crazy, really dark, and does some really crazy things. So yeah, yes, and also this one that character too as well is Clea, the one from the post credit scenes that Charlize Theron played is Clea, and so she's oh goodness, she's like she's related to the big evil. You know that at the end of the first Doctor Strange, the one he's like, I'm here to bargain for time. Like she's related to him in some kind of way.
Dormammu?
Yes, yeah, Dormammu. Because where she cut open to was, thank you, yeah, good pull. Where she cut open to was that dark universe where he was. And then so she's related to him in some way. I don't remember what it was exactly. And also throughout in the comics, after a while, they become like she becomes his love interest. And so in the MCU, by kind of closing out the Christine thing, it allows them to open up to if they want to be, you know, they could be partners, they could be best friends, they could be she could be the new love interest. It opens up the ability to explore all the different avenues of that relationship. But again, I didn't feel that it really took us anywhere, right? It was like, oh, okay, well, we had this, we've just had this Multiverse of Madness adventure with Doctor Strange. And your post-credit sequence is like, oh, okay, so he's going to go to the next adventure. And I found for me, and you let me know if you guys had a different one, I found I didn't really care.
Nope.
Right? It was kind of like, oh, okay, you're just going on another adventure. Okay. Like it didn't feel like it was progressing anywhere. It didn't feel like it was like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. It didn't feel like, oh, this will be different. It just felt like, okay, well, this is the continuing adventures of Doctor Strange. And, you know,
I agree.
I'll watch it when it comes out, but you know, you can take your time. I'm not going to hold my breath or anything.
It's so overwhelming at that point to be like, oh my God, now they've got makeup in these universes. They're doing a big bold eye. Now I have to learn about a universe where they're doing jumpsuits and big bold eye. Okay, like so.
Right. The word so again that I used was exhausting. Yeah, that's what I felt. I was like, right.
Okay, well, since we've really discussed this movie in an exhausting amount of detail, all right. So, given the bar that you said earlier, did this movie make it over? Was it below, at, or exceeding your expectations, Tommy?
It's probably right on the mark. I think, like, I understood about the small amount that I thought I would understand. And there was a little bit under because they didn't play enough with the reality. I loved the beginning fight scene. I didn't like a lot of the other fight scenes. I like the part in the Hall of Mirrors and stuff like that. That's why I love changing viewpoints, changing reality. And there wasn't quite enough of that for me. And when there was, it was like, for me, a misfire, like the music scene. So I would say a little bit less than I was hoping for, but overall, yeah, the end.
For me, it fell below. I was disappointed, and I was surprised to be disappointed. I've rarely been disappointed by Marvel content, and I, as I talked it through with my kids and stuff, they were like, "Oh, don't you remember this from that?" And I'm like, "Look, I do my best to remember this from that." And I have tried to take in all this content in a way where I have an understanding. But boy, this left me in the dust. It really did. So this for me is probably going to end up in the Thor: The Dark World category of like.
Wow,
I like all of them, but this one you can keep. I'm all for Sam Raimi getting to do more Marvel.
Sure.
I liked that, and I really enjoyed, Danny Elfman's take on the music, but I was just like, huh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So for me, really same deal. It was below my expectations. I think this is a good movie and it was well done and it has a lot that it's offering there. I think that a large part of it for me is that it's just, sorceries and all those wizards just isn't my jam, right? These aren't the superheroes that I just say I want to do. And it just didn't, that part doesn't work for me. And I think it reinforced, because I did struggle for a bit going in wondering, I had my question wondering, and then I think it just fully reinforced that I love Doctor Strange in other people's movies. And that's where I want him to be.
Yeah.
And so his own movies are just, it's too much. It's too much Doctor Strange. It's too much wizardry. It's too much waving our hand in a circle and things happen, or given the what is it, the hook 'em horn sign, and everything like that to do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, given that sign and everything that it does stuff. And so that's all of that. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Putting your wrist together and doing all of that. It's a little too, it's too much of yeah. So, yeah. So when so for me, while I, of course, will watch Doctor Strange 3 whenever it comes out, I am not in any hurry for it to come out.
Well
Agreed.
said.
All right. So we're on Letterboxd. True Story FM's family of film podcasts are all part of the Next Reels HQ page. Letterboxd is a great way to track movies you see, write your own reviews, and be a part of a larger community of film lovers like yourself. Sign up for your own account today, and if you upgrade to a pro or patron account, use the discount code NEXTREEL at checkout to save 20%. This works for renewals as well. So that leads us into Krissy. I'll start with you ladies first. What would you give us out of 5 stars, with or without a heart? Where would you rate this movie?
Well, I'm a mother, not a monster, so I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
And I'll probably have to heart it because I feel like I just want to heart all the Marvel movies. I'd still heart Thor: The Dark World, so
That's a level of generosity I will never achieve. All right, so Tommy, how would you rate this?
Yeah, I will give it. I'm going between 2.5 and 3. I will settle at 3 with a heart.
I also had the same thoughts of you, Tommy, where I had the 2.5 or 3. I will go with 3 because, again, I think this is a well-made movie, but I think it is me, so no heart. Because I feel that the reason for that is I feel that a heart I guess let me back up. I give it no heart because I don't care if I ever see this movie again. Right. And so therefore it's like, nope, it was a good movie, but I will probably never see it again. And I realized that even when I was watching this movie, I was sitting there thinking, you know what, maybe it should have crossed my mind to watch the first Doctor Strange again. But again, that movie as well was one where it's like, I watched it. It was good. I've seen it once. I feel that's enough.
I felt I wanted to watch this one again. I think I will feel differently about it when I see it again.
Okay. Well, you let me know how that goes for you. Yeah, I look forward to hearing about it. Thank you, Krissy and Tommy, for joining me tonight to talk about Doctor Strange and the madness of the multiverses, or in the multiverse of madness, or the madness on the outside or the inside of the multiverse around the circle of the madness between the multiverses.
Yep.
Tommy, what are you doing next in your in your podcasting / movie making world?
I am still editing my short horror film, and it's going on very well, slowly but surely. And I don't have anything else to say about podcasting at the moment. But what's that smell? Will be coming back someday. Bet your bippy. The end.
All right. And Krissy, what do you have coming up next for you?
Well, on the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast, the next episode that's going to come out is going to be War Games, talking about the ethics of war games. And then we are gonna do Weird Science. It's time to look at Weird Science, and I'm afraid.
I know, that film seems like it might be a little problematic.
I think so.
Why would it be problematic?
Do you want to be our guest, Ocean, and we can talk about it?
Yeah. While I would love any time to be on the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast, because I do have a soft spot for 80s movies, and I think Weird Science will hold up. I believe in it. I haven't seen it in 20 years, but I believe in it. I think that we will watch it and be like, yes, they were.
Love it.
Yes,
it's
no
all
notes.
Great. Right. Exactly. No notes. Perfect. All right. Well, and for this coming up next month on the film board is Top Gun Maverick.
USA. If you say so, I still don't think it's really a movie.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Then you know what? Even if it's not, we will discuss the trailer.
Let's do it.
We will discuss the 4-minute trailer for an hour and a half. So buckle up, people. Get ready. So thank you, everybody, for listening.
What do we have here? God, here I thought we were special.
Fellas, this here's Bagman.
Hangman.
Whatever.
What the hell kind of mission is this?
Everyone here is the best there is. Who the hell are they gonna get to teach us?
Captain Pete Maverick Mitchell. Let me be perfectly blunt. You are not my first choice. You are here at the request of Admiral Kazansky, aka Iceman. He seems to think that you have something left to offer the Navy. What that is, I can't imagine.
With all due respect, sir, I'm not a teacher. Just want to manage expectations.
What the hell? Good morning, aviators. This is your captain speaking.
And we're off.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
We're going into combat on a level no living pilot's ever seen. Not even him.
You think up there you're dead. Believe me.
My dad believed in you. I'm not gonna make the same mistake.
Someone's not coming back from this.
Those are your pilots. Anything happens to them.
Smoke in the air!
You will never forgive yourself.
No turning back now.
Come on! Jeez!
Having any fun yet?
And I just wanted to remind you again to please join our online community with fellow movie lovers. Learn more at thenextreel.com/Discord. And if you're not already a member, please consider supporting this show. To learn more, visit thenextreel.com/membership. Don't forget to do the stuff you're supposed to do with your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, listen, and most importantly, share. Please let any of those movie lovers in your life know about the show. The best way we have to get more people listening is you. And coming up next month, Top Gun Maverick. The Film Board is a production of True Story FM, engineered by Pete Wright. Visit the show at True Story FM. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.